Hey, it is Tuesday. Hope everybody had a good Memorial Day. We remember those who have fallen, those who served and sacrificed, giving their lives for the ultimate, which is freedom and liberty, which we are enjoying less and less these days in this grand tyranny we now know as America. At the helm here in Studio 22, the mothership, driving us into the nether regions of all things insanity, of course, the puppet master, Mark. Super Chris Cruz and Let's Love Brandon at the helm. We're going to get right into it. My very good friend Jorge Ventura is back. He is in the hot seat as promised. I'm glad you're here.
Yes, sir.
You have been all over the place. You've been reporting from the border. You've been most recently, obviously, in Uvalde. That's what we're going to spend the majority of our time on that topic today. Before we get into that, though, since people, I know their attention spans are weird and they tend to trail off after they get the juicy stuff. What are you doing? What's going on in your life? What new projects are you working on? Because you've always got another documentary coming out. What all is going on?
So right now, Chad, we just actually finished up wrapping up a new documentary. We were in Northern California, and we were kind of following the Asian drug cartels that are involved in the illegal marijuana, cannabis industry. You actually had me on, Chad, when we did our first documentary in Southern California, right, related more to the Mexicans. This one's more Asian-based, and I think people are going to be fascinated to see how the Asian drug cartels are also getting involved in local politics and just taking over these small rural towns in California. So we just finished up that, and that documentary should be out sometime in August, and when it is, I'll be here sitting with you, Chad.
Good. I want you to be, and obviously, anytime, for any reason whatsoever, that seat is open to you, and I want you here. You're doing God's work. Anybody that's been watching the news has seen Jorge. I mean, if you're watching Fox, whatever, you've been contributing. They've been beaming you in everywhere. Every time I turn around, you're on there. So thank you for doing something that is massively inconvenient to life, but these types of tragedies obviously are. But you've been following the stuff going on down at the border, and if we have time, we could talk some more about that. But let's talk about this, because we had pre-taped last week. We did not get to talk last week about the school shooting in Uvalde. Uvalde is a great community. Obviously campaigning around Texas. I've spent time there, and I've been there prior. Good people there. Small town Texas, right? Down close to the border.
Working class,
blue collar, a lot of Latino families. I heard a crazy... somebody said on my Twitter, they said, I hate for my mind to go there, but I'm just wondering if this was racially motivated. I was like, boy, you talk about not knowing anything about Uvalde.
Yeah, no.
Or they were even saying that the reason the cops didn't go in is because it was racially. I was like,
everyone
cops are Latino.
Yeah, everyone is Hispanic in Uvalde.
Everybody. So anyway, walk us through. Let's recap. We know that a gunman went into a school, killed 19 kids and 2 teachers. Let's recap the events of last Tuesday.
Yes, sir.
From your perspective, what you've heard, what you've seen. This guy crashed his car. What happens?
So for us, Chad, we were originally in Eagle Pass, and we were spending time also on the Mexican side in Piedras Negras reporting on the ending of Title 42. So that's originally what my reporting trip was all around. I was in Mexico with another reporter, Julio Rosas of Town Hall Media, and when we found out about the shooting, the information was flowing so fast, Chad. The first information that we got, and this is credible sources, that a Border Patrol agent got in a car chase with an illegal immigrant, and the illegal that was armed, and he jumped into a school. So that was the first initial report. Obviously, we found out that wasn't true. We got back to the U.S. side. I got together with my colleague, Thomas Cooper, me and him, Julio, went just straight to Uvalde, no questions asked. As soon as we got there, the FBI actually just arrived at the school. Within the first hour, we actually spoke to a key witness. We were one of the first people to report. According to that witness that we spoke with, he heard the gunfire shots when Ramos shot his grandmother. He only lived like a couple houses from the shooter. He said as soon as he heard it, jumps out, sees Ramos in his truck, drive down the street, crashed into a ditch. And then we were one of the, like I said, the first to report that Ramos actually, and us in the AP, Ramos actually started shooting at the funeral home. There was 2 employees that came out of the funeral home because they heard the loud crash. They come out, shots rang their direction, and then that's when Ramos jumped in school. For us on the ground, just the first day was hectic because the information was flowing so fast. We didn't know what to believe. First, we had it at 2 deaths. By the time we got there, that number increased. And it was really sad, Chad, because on the ground for a parent, they didn't know whether their child was missing or deceased until 2 or 3 in the morning, until it was confirmed due to the DNA testing. So it was just brutal. The first day was just it was all about kind of gathering all the information, what exactly happened. Like I said, we spoke to key witnesses, started piecing up everything. We said, wait a minute, this guy wasn't an illegal immigrant. He was part of the community, 18-year-old kid, been unemployed over a year, used to work at Wendy's. So that was kind of our first setting of just kind of trying to get all the information. And then little by little, as things started rolling out, we started to kind of paint the picture for a bigger story.
You and I, when I walked in the building today, I knew you were coming, obviously. You and I have communicated a little bit. But not about any details. And when I walked in the building, I saw you. We hugged each other, said hello, and I said, "I want to talk to you, but I do not want to talk to you until the cameras are rolling."
Yes, sir.
So nothing. So I don't want anybody, when we're talking, I don't want anybody to think that you and I have kind of prepped anything. And you said over and over, let's just stick to the facts we know, right? And that's what we need to do. Because there's a lot of theories out there. There's a lot of speculations. Even I said on Twitter over the weekend or last week, I said there's a lot of fishy shit.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fishy shit. And everybody came at me and they said, oh, conspiracy theories. I said, I'm not offering any of that up there. I'm just saying this was Tuesday night or Wednesday. I don't know. But by Thursday, I think it was Wednesday. And then by Thursday, all the media outlets were saying there was fishy. Something was weird going on. So I just happened to get ahead of the game. I'm not pushing that. Everybody has a narrative. But let me ask you some questions. Do we know, like, the truck, did that belong to his grandmother? So we know the owner of the truck.
So that truck belonged to his grandmother. It wasn't his. Ramos crashed the truck at he crashed the truck at 11:28. We find out now. Well, first, according to the big thing that started the whole mistrust with the police and the public was that 24 hours after the shooting, Texas DPS director Steve McCraw holds a press conference. Steve says Ramos crashes his truck and then he engages with a campus resource officer, only for 24 hours later then to put out a statement saying, "Oh, that never happened." So right there, that was a huge hole. What we did now find out is when Ramos crashed his truck, the resource officer drove actually past it, because what Ramos did is when he saw the resource officer, he kneeled. And so
is that why he crashed?
No, he just crashed because he was just
didn't know how to drive.
The kid doesn't even know how to drive. He already had a plan to shoot the school, because he actually wrote on Facebook 15 minutes prior that he was going to do that. So the campus resource officer actually missed him and didn't see Ramos. And then what we also found out is that Ramos was outside for a whole 12 minutes before going into the school. So that's a huge question where parents are like, why couldn't law enforcement neutralize Ramos before even getting into school? He was outside for a whole 12 minutes. Like I said, he shot fires to the funeral home, but the campus resource officer completely missed Ramos.
So was it because he was in the ditch?
Yeah.
You just didn't see him?
He didn't see him at all. Yeah, and Ramos kneeled down, according to the documents now put out by law enforcement, but he was outside for a whole 12 minutes before entering the Robb Elementary School that we now know was through an unlocked door that was left unlocked by a teacher at the campus.
And do we know, I know the store, the Oasis gun store, where he supposedly purchased, he just turned 18. He bought, apparently, Daniel Defense rifles, which are some of the most expensive AR platforms. I mean, I think the cheapest one they have is $1,800. You can buy an AR-15 $600-700 These are expensive Daniel Defense. My first question was, with these supply chain issues going on around the country, how readily available would Daniel Defense ARs be in a place like Uvalde? I mean, I know a lot of the gun stores in Dallas and Fort Worth, even, their gun shelves are kind of barren in some places because they don't have stuff in it. And let's just face it, through the last couple of years, gun sales have been through the roof across the country. People just kind of stockpiling and buying up. So I wondered, was that an issue? I went to the website of the store. I saw that their online store was pulled down. You just go to a page that said, pray for Uvalde. So that was a question that I had there. I reached out to my friends Joseph and Jared Stanier that have Texas gun experience here in Fort Worth, in Grapevine, I'm sorry. And I asked them how readily, and they said actually it's not too hard to find. South and West Texas, a lot of ranchers and stuff like that. So you got more and more of that. So that kind of quelched that. But I'm like, here's an 18-year-old who either had some decent credit or divvied up a lot of cash to go buy these guns. Was there anything revealed about all of that?
So we're still waiting for more information on that. There was a news group down in Uvalde who was actually interviewing some of the Wendy's employees that Ramos used to work with. And according to their reporting, what they said is that even when he was working at Wendy's, that he was basically saying, hey, I'm just working to buy up guns and stuff like that. So he was already putting out that signal. We did some interviews with locals who said he was always an off character. There was a local media TV that did a great interview with the guy who said, hey, this guy Ramos was a complete jerk. He wasn't like a kid that was bullied. He did the bullying. He and he was known for abusing animals. That's always a big sign in these kind of serial killers and things like that is the abusement of animals. So that was known for years. But according to his family, that Ramos stopped going to school for over a year, has been unemployed for over a year. And man, we're still, like I said, we're still trying to get all the answers into this kind of crazy story that just keeps, each day is something developing new. The big thing also right now, Chad, about with the parents and everything, and what we've seen is the police response, according to their own documents from Uvalde police, handling a shooter in a school, they actually failed their own protocols. So when you deal with an active shooter in a school, and we're talking about with kids, throw out all the guidelines, meaning like the whole barricaded suspect and we wait for tactical unit, that you're not even supposed to do that according to their own document. And I went through them. Yeah. Let's say I'm a police officer and I arrive. Oh, I have to go straight to the shooter. I can't wait for you, my backup, no one. I have to go in there and get to the shooter because according to their documents, time is of the essence. It's so important actually that they even say that if there's a kid who's been shot and he needs help, you can't even attend to the kid yet till the shooter is dealt with. Between 12:03 to 12:46, 43 minutes, 911 dispatchers fielded numerous calls of kids begging the police to go in there. And I'm not saying that, police did save, they saved tons of people, teachers and kids, but we're dealing with that particular classroom. So far from their protocols, it's been a failure. And the Texas DPS have put out the statement themselves. It's not even coming from me. They said, hey, in hindsight, we made the wrong decision. They had 19 officers in a hallway ready to barricade, ready to go into the room. They decided to stand down and wait for additional units. There was a border tactical team, Chad, that arrived ready to go. They didn't have the full equipment, but they were ready to go. But they were delayed by the on-scene commander with Uvalde police. They were told to stand down. They waited so long that the tactical unit disobeyed the orders and went in there anyway. So that hopefully people might who didn't know that could find that interesting, because there's a lot of rumors. There was a rumor that an off-duty border patrol agent jumped into the school and he was the one that killed Ramos. That's not true. He did jump into school. He saved his kids. He saved several other kids. But it was that border tactical unit, Chad, that actually disobeyed the orders of standing down and said, "We're not waiting any longer."
So we saw the reports of parents being tased and pepper sprayed and handcuffed and things like that. How prevalent was something like that? Was that happening?
Yeah. We spoke to multiple witnesses, multiple parents on the scene. Parents basically heard the gunfire shots, jumped in the car, went straight to the school. They were met by law enforcement in the parking lot. And according to the parents that I've been speaking with, they were begging police to go in there and just put an ending to the shooting. The Washington Examiner had reported that it was up to 40 minutes parents were begging. There was actually a group of parents that huddled together and were game planning to go into the school. One of the more remarkable stories, there's a mother, Angeli Rose Gomez, heard of this shooting. She was 40 miles out of Uvalde, drove those 40 miles, got to the school, begged the police to go in there. The police then put her in handcuffs. Angeli actually knew some of the local Uvalde police officers. She convinces them to free them. As soon as she got freed, she jumped over the fence. She got her 2 kids and was out of there. It's truly amazing.
I read that story. I also read regarding the protocol. If, say, multiple law enforcement go into an active shooter situation and one goes down, they don't tend to that one. They keep on going. They press forward to
especially when you're dealing with kids. Like with children, the game kind of changes, and you can't wait for a whole barricaded hostage situation. You have to go in there guns blazing. And according to their own Uvalde police protocols, it says if you're not ready to do that, then this career isn't meant for you.
Yeah. And obviously you and I, we know we're pro law enforcement. Of course we are. But again, things happen. And I've tried to put myself in those shoes. I don't know that in your mind you can do that. We got to go to a break, but I want us to think about this as we go to the break. Everybody wants to put a blame somewhere, and I think that is one of the places that they saw a quick place to do it. Obviously, the other side's putting the blame on the gun. I want to talk about that. We'll talk about some of the stuff that Biden's come out with over the weekend, and it's crazy. It's sad, and our heart's broken. I didn't say that at the very beginning. I kind of make that an understood thing. Our heart is broken over this situation. This is a sad deal. We'll be right back. But, hey, in these politically charged times, conservatives need to vote with their dollars. Our friends over at Minutemen Coffee, they're the coffee for American patriots. They're constitutionally based. They're family-owned. They're a great company, steadfast in their belief that all freedom-loving Americans deserve products from companies that share their beliefs without the fear of cancellation or retaliation from the woke mob. Minutemen Coffee believes in your constitutional rights. They believe in it so much they're going to send you a copy of the Constitution with every order so you can bring this important conversation to the coffee table and educate the next generation of constitutional patriots. This amazing coffee, and it is amazing, it's small batched, handcrafted from family farms across the globe, roasted to perfection and delivered fresh to you. I've tasted a lot of different coffee in my life, but Minutemen Coffee hits the mark when it comes to taste and aroma. I'm sure you're going to love it as much as I do. Plus, with Minutemen Coffee, you're going to get a full pound of coffee for less than most companies are going to charge for just a cupful. Minutemen Coffee has a special going right now that if you buy 3 bags of Heritage Roasts, they'll add Trader Joe to your cart, and it'll be free as well as free shipping. So go check them out, MinutemenCoffee.com. If you don't want that offer, use CHAD. I spell it Chad at checkout. They'll give you 15% off your order. Join the coffee revolution. Help us spread the Constitution. Wake up without going woke. MinutemenCoffee.com. We'll be right back. All right, so we're sitting here with Jorge Ventura, and, you know, I lived in small town USA, small town. I mean, you got little communities outside of big towns, and then you got small towns, right? So I lived in a place, 23,000 population. I was looking over the weekend, I was just comparing some things, because again, and folks, again, it ain't about conspiracy theories, it's just about you should be asking questions. Because one, you don't want this to happen again. You want to be aware, you want to be able to protect your own community and the people around you. But you just want to investigate. You want to see, you know, what's the connection here? What's going on? And Uvalde's what, 17, 18,000 people's population, something like that. I was looking at, say, like Newtown, Connecticut. You know, if you go back to the shooting there, I think that's like 26,000, 27,000 people. So these are small towns. Typically in a town like that, you kind of know everybody, you know, or you know of them, right? This isn't where, you know, you got a bunch of strangers in there. And hey, if you got a character that's kind of off, you usually know about that character.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Everybody kind of knows. That's just small town America. Were the signs not there with this guy? I mean, were they not picking up on that? Or I mean, what's the community saying?
You know, they were saying that the signs were basically always there. Even just 2 months ago, Ramos had an altercation with his mother with actually 8 police officers from Uvalde had to show up. But like you were saying, Chad, it's a community that knows everyone. It's I got to know the community from covering the border crisis. Uvalde is about 50 miles from the border, but they have an issue where the drug smugglers always running through. So I got to know the mayor. Yeah. And it's everyone knows everyone. Everyone knows the police officers there. Everyone's embedded in the community. And so this was, you know, Ramos always kind of stuck out as an off character. But you know what? At the end of the day, you can't predict someone to do something that evil. One thing I think it's important to point out, Chad, it was what he did was so gruesome. You know, we were speaking to our sources. The DNA testing was required for the bodies because they were just so unrecognizable. I mean, that to me broke my heart when we started getting that information that, you know, these families can't even do an open casket. But that's how brutal Ramos was with his shooting, that if it wasn't for DNA testing, they could not get an ID on those bodies. So,
and that's why so many people were saying we still haven't heard from our daughter. We don't know where she is. You know, this is 2:00 in the morning, and I know the conspiracy wing of the world started going, oh, see, it's false flag because they're kids that they can't even find, and this was a terrible. It was
gruesome.
Situation.
Yeah, one little girl actually smeared her classmates' blood on her face and played dead. It's truly remarkable. I interviewed an uncle who said his nephew witnessed his best friend get shot in the face, and that since that day his nephew has not said a word. He's been completely traumatized, and I think that's also something to point out, that a lot of these kids are forever going to live with that trauma. Scarred. They might not even go to school again. But that when he told me that, he was completely heartbroken. He's like, I don't know what to do. He's like, we can't talk to my nephew right now. He just has completely shut off the world right now.
And you're wearing a Uvalde Strong shirt. We put out a Uvalde Forever shirt, and we're donating all the proceeds from it. Look, I do live shows. I do this show. I sell T-shirts for a living, right? I run my mouth for a living and put messages out there. And we were like, we don't know what to do. We could sell a T-shirt. Now we've got a whole deal where people have donated a lot of livestock, and we're selling that off, cows and stuff for meat, donating all that money. So, more information on that. But it's almost like every time you even try to do something like that, people come at you and they're going, "Oh, look at you trying to capitalize off this." We're not. It's like, this is a horrible, horrible thing. These people are scarred forever. This community is scarred forever.
And people need to come together. Like, you need all hands on deck. When we were spending some time down there was so many prayer groups and church groups coming from San Antonio, praying, mourning, being there for the community. We had people flying out. There's service dogs from Colorado, so you had therapy dogs, grieving counselors on the ground. It's one of those moments where you need all hands on deck, and that we really got to look out for the families that impacted. Because if a lot of these folks they just lost their daughter, their son, how we expect them to go back to work and just act like everything's okay? So right now, the country needs to come together and just be there for these people. It's a working class community, down to earth people, some of the nicest people in the world in Uvalde. I have a really good relationship with Don McLaughlin, the mayor. The mayor cares about his community, so they need all hands on deck. They really do.
Were you there for the governor's press conference when O'Rourke came in?
We were actually we just left Uvalde, but as soon as that exploded, the community was just angry. You could even drive. We were driving down Uvalde, and we actually saw one of the signs say, "Don't turn our tragedy into a political moment for you."
Yeah.
So they were very angry from Beto. And to remind the audience, when Beto did that, it was just a few hours before that parents just found out whether their kid was deceased or not in the early hours. So it wasn't even 24 hours, and that's where you had the mayor, Don McLaughlin. He jumps up and says, "You sick son of a bee."
Yeah.
So they were very angry, and the community has the mayor's back on that one.
That is a situation where, now, if O'Rourke had come in there and said, "I'm here to stand in solidarity with the governor, and let's move forward, even though we're political opponents." I don't know. Just stay away from it. Don't touch it. You're a candidate, and if you're not a candidate, there's 0% chance you show up there, right? I just don't. So obviously it was an exploitation.
Yeah, and we just covered President Biden's visit in Uvalde. President Biden arrived alongside Governor Greg Abbott, so they put their political differences to the side. So they arrived together. But it's also key for the audience to know that these Texas Democrats, they're going to use this situation. They're going to fundraise like crazy. We actually, Saturday, we drove to Houston and we covered the NRA protest.
Yeah.
And Linda Hidalgo, county judge, was speaking. You had Beto O'Rourke speak and other key Democrats. Right now, they're going to raise millions off this. And if the GOP in Texas falls asleep, I think it's going to cost us some seats. Yeah. The key thing is millions are going to be coming outside of Texas now. And they're going to try to really play a role in these races. So that's something for, I think, the audience to pay attention to, that if the GOP and the Republicans and congressmen and here in Texas fall asleep, they will lose some seats because they're raising millions off
So this. To that point, I'm going to ask you, and you can tell me to shut up, but in your opinion, is this a crazy kid who got some guns, decided to go into a school, shoot it up? There were some mistakes made on the part of law enforcement in terms of their response, but at the end of the day, that's it. It was a tragedy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Because I know there's a lot of people out there who, and again, we want to play the blame game. There's a lot of people on one side, they want to say, no, this was politically motivated. This was an FBI thing. This was a cartel hit. This was all of these things. And then you got the other side that wants to say, oh, we got to get rid of all the guns, and I just don't feel that either side is right in this. Where, when I say fishy stuff going on, yeah, there was mistakes that were made. Some stuff wasn't right. We need to get to the bottom of this. God forbid the last thing I feel that we need to do is make a big conspiracy out of this thing when these people are grieving the way that they are. Now, to that end, and I will say this, my controversial statement of the day, I don't trust the American government. I don't trust the Texas government at this point in time. I don't trust big government. And to the degree that they will exploit their citizens for political gain, I think they will utilize every avenue and every opportunity to do that. That's been shown throughout human history because people are garbage, right? But I pray to God this isn't one of those situations. I pray to God it's not.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, and the big thing too, a lot of people, I get messages all the time like, "Oh, Jorge, this is a distraction." I'm like, The U.S. government doesn't need to distract you to do any corruption. They just send 40 billion to Ukraine in front of your face.
Yeah.
You think they need to distract you?
They don't need to distract you.
They don't need. They be like, oh, it's a CR. They don't need to do any of that stuff. They don't need to. No, they're doing it. They're corrupt. I don't trust government, like you said, to even get a handling on the situation. I'm just praying that these good people don't get exploited from these folks. And even myself, who works in media. I think it's also important for media just to get out of Uvalde. Let these people breathe. Let the community heal, because it's going to be a very long process. A lot of folks in law enforcement are going to be held accountable. One of those is P. Arradondo, which is Uvalde police chief, who made the decision to stand down. He was actually supposed to be sworn into city council today. That was canceled. So I'm interested to see what happens there. But I mean, you've been down there to Uvalde, Chad. These are just good, honest, working class folks, very family orientated down there. Everyone has your back in Uvalde, so I'm hoping those people just don't get exploited, and that Americans could just come together and really, really help these folks out.
I agree, and I've heard from a lot of friends in Uvalde. They've reached out and we've talked, and I've expressed the same condolences. Ask how we can help if there's any way possible. That's kind of the role that we're taking as far as my platform is concerned. And I'll make my audience more aware of that as we go forward. But it's crazy because these are good people. I mean, they don't deserve this, right? They don't deserve this. And we'll talk a little bit maybe in the next segment about just the insanity of this gun craze. You were just at the NRA.
Yeah, so. And we can't forget, Chad, the two brave teachers that, I mean, they've used their body and tried to do the best they could to shield their students from dying. And one of the teachers, I think it was like a day or two after the shooting, her husband had a fatal heart attack.
Yeah.
So now they leave 4 kids behind. The other teacher leaves 2 kids in college. So we can't forget, their heroic acts. I mean, they really try to do something, and they put their own body on the line to protect their 4th graders.
Yeah. It's a good point. I want to take a break, and then we're going to come back. I want to talk to you about a teacher that didn't do so good, and completely separate from the Uvalde situation. But then we'll talk about guns a little bit as well. I mean, again, we got to talk about the NRA and what happened there. But anyway, you've heard me talk about the 3-week rule. It is the best financial advice I could ever give you. Wait 3 weeks to buy a new car. Wait 3 weeks to refinance your home mortgage. Wait 3 weeks to finance any major purchase. Why 3 weeks? Because that's how fast the average ScoreMaster user takes to boost his or her credit score, an average of 61 points. And listen, 61 points added to your credit score can save you tens of thousands in pretty much on everything you finance. ScoreMaster technology was developed by credit data scientists to boost your credit score higher and faster than you thought possible. ScoreMaster is so easy, it takes about a minute to get started, and you don't have to wait for months for your best credit score. I want you to try it today. I'm a member. I actively use it. See how many plus points you can add to your credit score. Go to scoremaster.com/Chad. That's scoremaster.com/Chad. One more time, because I want you to do it. Scoremaster.com/Chad. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. I want to talk to you about this one topic that I saw a headline on this week. And this is kind of crazy, folks. Any one of you who's been aware of me for more than 5 minutes knows that I have talked about, practiced, and yes, even literally sung the praises of corporal punishment. That's whooping spankings. I've done it in studio right here. I've done it abroad. You might be familiar with my delightful little song called Beat That Ass. I've sung it all over the world. It's a hard-hitting masterpiece if there ever was one. I have been and always shall be full-throated on the notion that to spare the rod is to spoil the child. If they don't think twice the next time they want to do something, then you did it wrong the first time. You got to whoop that ass. You know what I'm talking about. But even I have limits. Picture, if you can, stomach it, the spectacle of a principal dragging a special needs child by his ankles 500 feet down a hallway after he failed to comply with a request to get out of his seat. That's your warm welcome to Walter Hill Elementary School in Tennessee and your introduction to Principal Helen Campbell, who currently stands to lose her job depending on the eventual ruling of the school board. And while the child only sustained minor injuries, I mean only, you shouldn't have sustained any, that's what happens when you're used to, buff the floor for 500 feet. You're going to sustain some injuries. I'm going to go ahead and take the controversial position here of agreeing with those who level the charges at her that she should be fired, and they must really like her at that school because currently the school board can't seem to make up its mind about whether or not to do so. Now, let's get a couple of things straight here. One, the child was not harming himself, nor was he attempting to harm anyone else. You throw something like that in the mix, and I say drag the kid all the way to the police station if you have to. Two, this was a special needs kid, all right? Now, I'm not saying everyone who rides on that particular spectrum of existence, it doesn't mean they're all on equal footing or should get special treatment. But I do know that lots of kids with things like autism do not understand social cues the way the rest of us do and do not respond to corporal punishment the way that neurotypical kids probably would. Also, you just don't drag a kid, several hundred feet down a hallway, period. You don't do it. I mean, at a certain point, context ceases to matter because you've fallen so far outside the scope of a normal and healthy response to a kid being a shithead. You're just wrong ipso facto. I'd be interested to hear what the teacher-worshiping lefties out there think about this. And again, I respect the office of the teacher. I think when you're doing it right, you're doing God's work, educating our kids. But I also know a lot of them don't do it right. We've continually pointed that out on this show. So I don't fall in that category of just giving everybody a carte blanche free get out of jail free card, whatever. So I want to know what you purple hairs think about it. I know this woman was a principal and not a teacher, and so probably falls under your definition of the typical patriarchal white male position rather than that of a poorly paid and overworked teacher/saint. But hey, this principal identifies as a woman, I think. So how about it? What's your opinion? Look, folks, show me a video of a teacher meting out well-deserved discipline to an unruly punk, and I'm all on board. I'll bring the popcorn. It'll be weird, but we'll celebrate together the doing of justice in the school system. But for goodness sakes, can we maybe not try to overcompensate for failing education by committing actual child abuse, especially when it comes to a special needs kid? I'd feel a lot better if you just kind of chill, folks. Did you see that story? Jorge,
I have not, but that's insane. Oh my God.
Look, here's the thing. I've seen some wild video.
If you did that to me, my mom will be in there with this chanclas swinging, man.
I've seen some, they got security cameras everywhere in these schools now. And I'm like, wow. This lady, she just dragging this kid all the way down the hallway. Anyway. I'm see, anybody that watches my show knows, Jorge, I want all kids out of public schools. I don't, and that, again, that's not a slap at teachers. Unfortunately, the teachers are getting victimized as much as the kids are, right? But just public school system has absolutely gone down. It just really is. We've created a cultural environment and a society whereby it's become a necessary evil in many ways. And I tweeted it over the weekend, and people came at me. I said, college is a scam.
Oh, man.
And people don't understand what I mean by that because I love to trigger people. But if you want to go and get a degree program, just take the classes you need to get that degree and get trained and specialize in that deal. And I believe in college. I got 2 college graduates this year. My 15-year-old son just enrolled in college yesterday.
Wow.
So you do the math on that. It's a smart kid.
Yeah, smart kid.
He ain't going to take, remedial English, let's just say. So, anyway.
I dropped out, Chad, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Dropped
and look at you now, baby. I got several degrees. I don't know that I'm using any of them. I definitely didn't get this job based on my degrees. It's wild, man. It's wild. Joe Biden came out. Joe Biden had a lot to say, particularly about 9mm, 9mm handguns. Which, by the way, if we get a chance, we want to talk about Canada as well. Canada's now basically taking everybody's guns. They're just going to do it over time. Do you have that clip of Biden? Play that clip.
22 caliber bullets will lodge in a lung, and we can probably get it out, may be able to get it and save the life. A 9mm bullet blows the lung out of the body. So the idea of these high caliber weapons is there's simply no rational basis for it in terms of about self-protection, hunting. Remember, the Constitution, the Second Amendment, was never absolute.
You would think that as the President of the United States, you would know that people are going to go, yeah, that's bullshit. Like the 9mm does not blow your lung out of your body. In fact, most people who carry the 9mm is not it's not a very powerful round in that regard. The stopping power of the 9mm, not the strongest on that deal. How does he get away with this stuff?
Who even knows how this guy's still in office, man? I don't. It's surprising. I don't. He can't read the room, and man, good old Joe.
It's insane. What was the atmosphere at the NRA?
At the NRA, it was anytime we were covering it, where anytime people were like entering the attendees, I mean, they were getting yelled at, screamed at. I mean, we saw folks in like wheelchairs, just going in there peacefully, and folks were screaming at them and hollering at them. I mean, it was a very, very angry crowd outside that Houston NRA. Yeah, it's very angry. And the thing, what I would stump them on, Chad, is I would say, I would do interviews. I said, hey, right now the Democrats, they control the House, they control the Senate and the White House. Why haven't they done anything on gun control legislation? And they couldn't give me an answer.
Right.
So that was pretty interesting.
Again, it's not about logic. It's not about facts. It's about feelings in that regard. I mean, for instance, everybody that goes to the NRA convention is armed. They're all carrying.
Which I actually wanted to see, what did you think of all the country artists pulling out of the NRA?
I didn't like that. That bugs me. My thing is, you're basically, again, placing blame even by default of pulling out of that. It's not the NRA's fault. The NRA, no member of the NRA has ever committed a mass casualty shooting, so you're placing blame on a gun lobby that I don't think it's deserved. Now, I have my problems with the NRA, don't get me wrong, but it ain't on those lines. So, and I'm not a member of the NRA. People can come at me all they want. I'm just not. I don't like the direction of the organization these days under Wayne LaPierre, but I wish those guys had gone ahead and committed to doing what they were going to do. I get it. You want to stand in solidarity. I mean, but I don't know that was the right way to do it. Real quick break before we do it. Friends, if you're worried about the future, I don't blame you, but I don't want you to be caught unprepared for what's ahead. You can only blame yourself, folks. Go to my special webpage, preparewithchad.com. You'll be able to save $150 worth on a three-month emergency food kit from my friends at My Patriot Supply. That's a great deal on food that's good, actually delicious. It's not bunker food. They got a wide variety of meals, and it's enough to last 3 solid months per person. You're going to get 2,000 calories a day. You're going to have strength, energy to get through what's coming. Stays fresh for up to 25 years if you store it right, and that's not hard to do. So it's there when you need it. Don't face the future without food. Go to preparewithchad.com right now. Get $150 savings per kit. It's going to ship free. It's going to ship fast. It's going to arrive in unmarked boxes for privacy. Go to preparewithchad.com today. That's preparewithchad.com, and we'll be right back. Well, before we get out of here, what else do people need to know? You gonna come back tomorrow? You gonna hang out? All right.
Yes, sir.
But on this Uvalde deal, what else do people know? What are we missing?
The new detail that we just got, Chad, is that now the Department of Justice is going to be investigating the police department. So we're going to see how that investigation falls out. Governor Greg Abbott was pretty livid in a press conference. He said that he was misled with the first initial report. So we're still waiting for that, and we're going to be talking to our sources and trying to get more information on Salvador Ramos and paint a picture on who exactly this guy was and what led him to that event.
There's a lot of details that we don't know.
Yeah,
there's a lot of
things are still unfolding,
and that's
right
understandable. That's understandable, folks. You're not. I know y'all are in a instant information age, but that's not what happens in a situation like this. These are real people involved, and respect the tragedy, respect these people, respect what they're going through, and it's hard. Pray for them and contribute where you can. If you got any aspects as far as contributions and places people can go, because we've got some things coming up. But we're just funneling all of our stuff into one place to try to help the community.
I don't know exactly. Just I know if you guys, there's a lot of community groups in San Antonio that are putting a lot of things together. So reach out to them. Really, if you guys see one of these like Uvalde Strong shirts, buy them. The proceeds go directly to the family. Yeah. Whatever you could do, pray, mourn, anything. They need all hands on deck. Like I said, people were driving from all across Texas just to be there and pray for the community. And I think that's pretty powerful.
Yeah, it is powerful. It's the thing about Texas. You can say what you want to say about Texas, but there is a strong spirit and a strong community in the sense in people. We don't have to get mandated to come help each other.
Exactly.
We don't have to. We didn't do it in Hurricane Harvey. In this situation, people band together. They come together. They're coming over from various other towns and cities to pray, to be there to support. As you said, bring in the support dogs. I mean, these are children involved. So many things going on. So this is a thing that's not going to go away fast. And even if there is something that pops up in the news cycle in the coming days, we're not going to forget. We're going to be there with Uvalde and continue to stand with them. So thank you for doing what you're doing, Jorge. And God, there's so many things in the news to get into. Did you see the Paul Pelosi thing? Nancy Pelosi's. God, I guess I went viral on that tweet saying that if I was married to Nancy Pelosi, I'd be drinking and on the run too. You know,
yeah, I can't blame him at all.
Yeah,
I don't
people got pissed off. You know, people got pissed off. But so what? There it is, right there. Nancy Pelosi husband arrested for DUI. If she was my wife,
she could bail him out with that insider trading money. That
I'd be drinking and trying to get away too. Paul Pelosi worth $120 million. This economy's so bad, can't even find a good chauffeur. Can't afford a chauffeur. Yeah. Put both of those things out there over the weekend. Apparently, people really love Nancy Pelosi. Who'd have thunk it? Who would have thought, dude? I mean, the Twitter bots came to her defense on that thing. But
I'm really hoping that he was drinking some good tequila, man. Some nice Don Julio. Yeah, you're gonna get pulled over.
Yeah,
at least with some good tequila, my buddy.
Casa Azul right here. This sitting here on the whole. It's a piece of art. By chance, do you have a TikTok? Can we end this on a lighthearted note-ish, maybe, kinda? All right, play it.
Beautiful. Thank you.
They're going to go to one of our schools and present deadly force. We are going to meet you with deadly force, and we are going to kill you. You don't get to shoot our children. You don't get to hurt our children. You bring deadly force in this county, we are going to kill you.
That's Florida. And I think that's the attitude right there.
I think
that's
energy.
What you got to do. Forget this gun-free zone stuff. We got to get to a point where you have, armed security. I have another tweet that I put out there. Americans will continue to use guns to protect that which they value. If it's not being protected with guns, it shows you that we don't value that right now. And our schools don't have any value. The kids don't have any value. But we live in an age where you just abort, 98% of abortions are convenience.
We could send $40 billion to Ukraine, and we can't. That $40 billion, we could have armed security at all of our campuses in every single community, in all those low-income communities. But, our establishment Republicans and Democrats don't care about us.
If I'm a wild-eyed, crazy person intent to go out and do violence and harm in a school, I know that the gun-free zone sign is not going to be what detracts me from going in there. You give me a bad hombre that's a retired veteran that's, highly trained standing there that gets paid $70,000, $80,000 a year to stand there. With an M4 and, that 9mm that's, designed to blow the lung right out of the body, then I'd say, I'm probably going to think twice about this whole deal. It's a sad situation, man, but we got to, people say, oh, we need less guns. No. If we had a gun problem, and I'll say this before we go to a quick break, if we had a gun problem, none of you would ever go to a public place ever again. You wouldn't go to the grocery store. You wouldn't go to a sporting event. You just wouldn't go. You wouldn't go to the theater. You wouldn't go to the schools. You just wouldn't go. You wouldn't go because you'd be afraid you were going to be a victim of mass violence. These things are rare. They are, by and large. They're rare, and guns do tend to be the weapon of choice. But again, you don't believe that because, again, everybody went into that NRA building the other day in Houston. They all were packing. They were all carrying us. They didn't start firing randomly and indiscriminately into that crowd of protesters.
There's a lot of confrontations.
There were confrontations, but nobody's, pulling that gun out and going to work.
Exactly, yeah.
Because, again, it's about responsible gun ownership, and we can have that debate all day long, every day. Real quick, we're going to top some loose ends. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Jorge Ventura, he's always on the front lines. You need to be following him on all social medias. Where is the best place people need to keep up with you?
Best place right now is Instagram and Twitter. Instagram at Jorge Ventura TV. And then Twitter, we're breaking news in real time at Jorge Ventura Media.
Thank you. Tomorrow we'll have fun.
Yes, sir.
All right. Today was heavy. Tomorrow we'll come back for Hump Day. We'll have
thank
some
you,
fun.
Chad, for having me on. Just to also clarify some of this misinformation that was flowing out, and we got to at least correct it. And I think your audience will appreciate it.
Good. Yeah, I hope that they do. Take it for what it is, folks. We're serious about this issue. We want the right stuff out there. WatchChad.com is where all the fun stuff is. I'm going to be in Belton, Texas Friday night, Bernie, Texas on Saturday, and then Fort Worth at Billy Bob's on Sunday night. WatchChad.com has all the information. Don't forget, sign up, blazetv.com/Chad. Use promo code Chad for savings. We'll see you tomorrow. Love you.